Smooth health on the drive.
It's a global observation that helps raise people's awareness.
Insightful tips and information to live in a healthier and happier life.
How to prevent it, detect or treat it.
Smooth Health is powered by Evercare Hospital, Lekki, transforming healthcare in Nigeria.
If you didn't know, now you know.
This is Smooth Health on the Drive. Smooth 98.1, love music, love life. Welcome to Smooth Health on the Drive, brought to you by Evercare Hospital, Lekki. Today we're speaking about basic fire safety and emergency medical service and its role in overall patient care. To guide us through that conversation, we have a special guest joining us, Odunze Raphael. Odunze Raphael is currently the Health and Safety Coordinator in Evercare Hospital, Lekki. He has degrees in both industrial chemistry and chemical engineering from Abia State University and the University of Lagos. Now, he is a trained and experienced health and safety practitioner with experience in the manufacturing industry, healthcare, construction, as well as training workers on occupational health and safety programs. Welcome to the show, Odunze.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's get straight into this conversation. How would you describe fire safety?
All right, thank you very much, Sonia. The very first thing I know, Sylvia, right?
Zibi, please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, the very first thing we need to get to understand is what is fire safety itself. When you get to understand that, it will give you that inclination, that inclusiveness. Now, the very first thing is, fire safety itself is seen as the measures and practices put in place by organizations for preventing, reducing injuries and loss of life or property by fire. And this is by providing adequate fire safety equipment and positioning them in well-identified areas. So this is what it's all about.
Okay. So, when a lot of people hear the exclamation fire, a lot of people, and rightfully so, would panic because, everyone is thinking about how to save their lives, how to be as safe as possible, really, and get away from a situation that could be life-threatening. So what do you think people should do in the case of an emergency, a fire emergency?
Okay, thank you very much, Zibi. The very first thing I think people should get to understand is, when you know the history of something, you're able to sort it out. And what do I mean? We know everybody, once you ask questions now, what do you know fire is? Everybody will give you examples of uses of fire. But what I tell people is this: before you try to look at how you can manage it, is do you know the chemistry of the existence of fire? Now, what do I mean by this chemistry? What are the elements? What are the things that come together that will bring about this fire? And for you to avoid the existence of having to start talking about fire emergencies, you need to make sure you remove fire consumable materials, things that will bring about this fire, eliminating this element. Right. And this chemistry of fire is about three things. And these three things are simple. Now, oxygen, heat, and fuel. So if these three things are out of the way, fire cannot exist. I don't know if that is clear. So we all need to get this information. Make sure you get these things out of the way. Because once I know where something is starting from, I know where the end will be.
Right.
That is the major reason people are having. So we all need to get those things in mind.
Okay. So a lot of people, when they hear the term fuel, they're probably thinking about petrol. But in this situation, this is not just petrol, is it?
No, this is not just fuel. Now, in this context, fuel is of three kinds. We have the solid fuel, we have the liquid fuel, and we have the gaseous fuel. Now, in the aspect of the solid fuel, it is readily available everywhere, all and around us. Now, just like your hair you're wearing now, is a source of solid fuel. The clothes, the fabrics. Yes, definitely. The fabrics you're putting on, the chair you're sitting on,
right.
The television, that is seen in the solid form of fuel. Now you have it in the liquid form, which is the one everybody knows, like the petrol, the diesel. And being a hospital setting in which we are, Evercare Hospital, we make use of some chemicals, some methylated spirits, Savlon, Povidone. So all these things form sources of fuel. Now, in the aspect of the gases, you have your normal cooking gas, you have your nitrogen gas, you have your medical gas. So you see, the fuel is not just the normal diesel, the normal aviation fuel, and the normal petrol we know of. So they are of these three kinds. So when you identify them, and that would then inform you the class of fire that has come up. When we get there, I think I will explain more. But this is what it simply means.
Okay.
Yes.
So for each of these components, are there specific extinguishers that can minimize the risk that they pose, either collectively or individually?
Yes, there are various types of extinguishers that we use in extinguishing these types or these classes of fire. Now, the classes of fire come into existence because of the various types of fuel they come with. Now, we have what we call the Class A type of fire. Now, these are fire that involve ordinary combustible materials. And what are these ordinary combustible materials? Just like example I talked about, the solid fuels, the solid form of fuel, like the wood, the papers, the textiles, the clothes, the hair. These constitute an ordinary, the Class A type of fire. And the type of extinguisher we use in extinguishing them is called a water type of extinguisher. So that is the type of, so what brings about the extinguisher to be used is the form of fuel that started that fire.
Right,
yes.
Right. Yes. Well, we're speaking with Odunze Raphael. Odunze Raphael is the Health and Safety Coordinator at Evercare Hospital, Lekki. And if you have any questions or comments, please send them to us. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. He's a qualified health and safety practitioner. All right, Raphael, I want to ask, are there steps that you have to follow in developing a plan? Because every now and then, in certain buildings, an alarm goes off and they're like, oh, you have to go outside. It's a fire drill. And so are there steps that have to be followed to prepare a plan just in case?
Yes, there are steps. And just like you said, Zibi, you need to look at the structure firstly. Because when you come to look at Evercare, our structure is different from the GT Bank structure that is beside us. And FAME is different from the COBIS structure that is beside us. So the very first thing you need to look at is you need to look at your structure, you need to look at the components, you need to look at the environment. That would help you discern, that will help you decide on what type of plan you need to do or you need to carry out. Now, you also have to consider the exit routes because all those things have to be put in place before you develop what we call an ERP. The ERP it means emergency response plan. Now, before every building or any building is certified fit to be used by the Federal Ministry of Environment or Federal Fire Service, you have to have this emergency response plan document. So before you set up any emergency preparedness plan, you need to firstly look at the structure. The structure is very important. And the number of exit routes you have. That will then take you to the next step. But the very first thing is identify, look at the structure you have, plan, look at it, and then you design.
Right. So basically, no two buildings would probably have the same plan.
No two buildings will have the same plan.
Okay.
Unless they are twin buildings, unless they are structured the same way. If they are not structured the same way, they would have different emergency evacuation plan.
Okay. Well, we'll take a quick break, and when we return, the conversation will continue right here on Smooth Health. We're speaking with Odunze Raphael, and we're talking about basic fire safety and its role in overall patient care.
This is Smooth Health on the Drive.
It's a global observation that helps raise people's awareness.
Smooth Health is powered by Evercare Hospital, Lekki, transforming healthcare in Nigeria.
If music is the food of the soul, Smooth FM is my favorite diner.
Play the record once a day or as needed.
We've got your big songs, fresh news, and all that you need for that journey home.
Music.
It's your Smooth Drive on 98.1.
This is Smooth Health on the Drive, brought to you by Evercare Hospitals Lekki. We're speaking with Odunze Raphael. Odunze Raphael is the Health and Safety Coordinator at Evercare Hospital. We're speaking about basic fire safety and emergency medical service in patient care. If you have a question or a comment, please send your messages to us via WhatsApp. The number is 0809 440981. That is 0809 4440981. Okay, Raphael, coming back to our conversation. Now, evacuation is definitely an integral part of any preparedness plan. And what are the steps that would be involved in evacuating a building with a threat or apparent fire?
Okay, during a fire evacuation, that is what we look out for. The basic step is simple, and it's termed with an acronym, RACER. Yeah, so that acronym would help you, at an emergency as such, like fire, everybody is panicking. So, but once this is communicated to the staff, the visitors, the patients, or whatever in that building, it will help them plan well. Now, the very first R in the RACER is simply you remove oneself or the patient or whoever or the staff from that point of danger. You remove yourself, remove people away from there. Now, the next step is you alert. Like, for an example, you are not a well-trained fire marshal or a health and safety practitioner or a fireman or a firewoman to arrest the situation. All you need to do is you alert. We have what we call a manual call points that are all around buildings. Like I know Evercare, we have them from our ground floor down to the 6th floor, all around every unit. So all you need to do is at that point you alert. And once you alert, that's where you start hearing that alarm sound coming up. Yeah. So which the next will be the C, which is you confine. Now there's this principle of extinguishment. We call it confinement. So this is the stage at which doors and windows are properly closed, properly shut off. Now this is to remove the presence of more oxygen into that particular vicinity or where that fire is coming up. Because the more oxygen comes in, the more the fire will be coming up. Just like when I stated about the fire triangle, we talked about 3 elements. The oxygen, the fuel, and the heat. So once you take away that oxygen, remember geometry said for a triangle, the 3 sides are all equal. But once one of the sides is taken out, you have at least been able to manage almost 90% of having to extinguish that particular fire. So the next is the E, extinguish. Now, you have to be properly trained to be able to use an extinguisher. Like I will tell you that, in fact, almost 95% of Evercare staff have been trained on how to use the extinguisher. This is our policy in-house. This is what we do. We make sure that the staff are able to help their patients in home. Because if it happens in a ward or in a room whereby the fire marshals or the health and safety personnel are not there, but the nurse or the doctor can help because that person has a basic idea of how to use an extinguisher. So that is where the E comes in. Then the last R is now we relocate, which now we then evacuate by identifying the exit routes. That would then lead us to where we call the muster point. So that is the basic step to evacuate during a fire.
All right. I feel like I went back to school, fire school. Remove, alarm, confine, extinguish, and relocate.
You're welcome. We can teach you more.
Awesome. So coming back to fire drills, how often should organizations have these drills to prepare people?
We've had this conversations in the international level and the professional level. We've come down to like, okay, twice in a year is wonderful. You know, in the middle, you know, amidst the six months intervals, you have fire safety trainings to remind people what to do. You know, but it's very, very important that the drills are done twice in a year. That would help prepare any organization in case of any type of emergency that comes up.
Okay.
So yes, twice a year, it's wonderful. Yes.
All right. What are the possible precautions that need to be taken to help minimize the risk of a fire outbreak?
Okay. The truth is, organizations should do more, just like Evercare is doing, by training and teaching their staffs, colleagues, workers, visitors on what fire prevention means. And for you to be able to understand fire prevention, it means that you need to know why and how fire exists. Now, when you identify and know all these things, it will drastically minimize how fire emergencies comes up in an organization. Now, just like I explained, I will recall and recount again. If I know that having so many combustible materials at a place will lead to more fuel, because as you know, oxygen is readily available everywhere. Science of chemistry made us understand that about 21% of it is contained in air. So you see, and this heat is not just your matches and your lighter. There will be a time you'll be using your phone. Your phone will be very hot. Zibi, I believe you noticed that sometimes.
Yes.
At that time is a source of heat. Believe you me, remember you're sitting on a chair and you're putting on a clothes. It's a source of fuel. And you have oxygen all around you.
Wow.
So if we get all these things out of the way, it will minimize how fire comes into existence, or how fire would affect our building, affect our businesses. Yes, we have statistics and details and experience how fire has really taken down people's businesses. We can avoid those things. These are avoidable mistakes that can take care of it as easy as possible. So it's very important that people need to understand the basic fire prevention. And the basic fire prevention is making sure that combustible materials are out of the way.
Okay, so in work environments, this is applicable. But what about, coming back to homes where these things are just there? You need them for your daily life. Like just a few days ago, I lost a friend to a fire incident, and this happened in his home. So what do people need to do in their homes where these combustible materials and heat are right there?
Yeah, the truth is, we know how the configuration and how the houses are in Lagos. That shouldn't be an excuse. Yeah, all we need to do is to have a proper, good housekeeping. Put the things you're supposed to put out in the right way. You see some homes, they have their oxygen cylinders inside the house. This is another form of mistakes that people make. And there's this particular chair, I know that a lot of people have, or this particular door you have in your house, that there must be clothes on top of it. There must be clothes on top of the chairs. So these are the basic things, when you have a good housekeeping. Now, my simple definition of good housekeeping is keeping things in the right place at the right time. That is my own source of good housekeeping. It mustn't be that you have to be, we know some people are very they are perfectionists, they are very tidy-minded, Yes. Believe me, but even if you're not up to that level, but try and manage a very good housekeeping. And another thing is, we should try as much as we can to get ourselves extinguishers in our homes. Yeah, it might be a very small fire that we could have taken care of. Yeah, just because we don't have those right tools, those right firefighting tools to extinguish them, it will escalate and cause a lot of damage. And another thing is, we tend to be very careless and carefree. Now, what do I mean? There are some times you go to your changeover, you want to do your changing over from your generator to your light. You notice this spark from the, that changeover switch there. You don't say anything about it. And most of the houses these days we have are conduit wire. It might be bridging somewhere, trying to cause what we call electrical fire. So all these things, we need to be very mindful. Or sometimes you see a socket smelling. there's a reason for that socket to be smelling. All those things constitute so we need to pay attention to our housekeeping. So that is I don't want to say so, but there are a lot of things to be said about the home. But only thing I want the listeners to take home is this. Try as much as you can to have a proper good housekeeping. That would help to at least, eradicate the issue of home fires to about 80 to 85%.
All right, we've got a message coming through via WhatsApp. It's from Taiwo Ikeja. He says, hello, is it truly unsafe to use phones in the kitchen or around a gas cooker?
Very, very unsafe, please. Very, very unsafe.
Okay.
Please don't do that.
All right. So, Raphael, I want to ask this. You've spoken about how a lot of staff have to be trained or have been trained to use fire extinguishers. And are there times that you shouldn't use a fire extinguisher?
Well, yes, there is a time. Now, the major use or the major period why you have to or when you have to use an extinguisher is if the fire is at the incipient stage. Now, an incipient stage means at that time that fire is happening. That is the only time you're allowed to use an extinguisher. And another thing is you know what came about that fire. But in a situation whereby you're not there, let's say we finish this show now and someone will tell you, okay, having heard from Raphael, I can now pick up an extinguisher and start to extinguish fire. No, there are certain other trainings you need. Like, for an example, let's say I'm not there, a fire starts and you invite me over. What I'm going to do is I have to put on the right PPEs because I wasn't there when that fire started. Except even though I have all the information, if you watch our firemen whenever they come, they put on the fireman suit properly kitted from head to bottom to wade against fire burns and every other thing. So yes, the stage at which you shouldn't use an extinguisher is once it's beyond you. Once it's beyond that incipient stage, do not try to just alert that there's an issue and the persons in charge will come and take care of the situation. But at the incipient stage, that is when you can use an extinguisher.
Okay. I want to ask Raphael regarding safety in a hospital situation. I'm curious, what steps has Evercare taken to ensure the health and safety of everyone within its walls?
All right. Thank you, Zibi, for that question. Evercare has done so well in that aspect. I will tell you that I've worked in other establishments and they have one of the best firefighting tools or equipment or whatever you can name it, starting with having an FSA panel. Now, this panel tells you on the go what is happening, where it is happening, and how you can manage the situation. It's not every organization that have this, but I will tell you, Evercare has it. About 2 of them stationed in the building, which we monitor at every given time and space. So they also have what we call the pump room, where it powers or holds the hydrant system and the sprinkler system. I will tell you, every floor in the building has a sprinkler system and a hydrant system. So I'm so excited and happy saying this because we've had drills on how to use these things and they are just on the go. The smoke detectors are one of its kind. Any little smoke it captures, believe you me, the alarm is set off. Are you now talking about the elevators? Whenever there is this emergency, the elevators come down to ground zero and opens up. The fire doors, everything is just, believe you me, everything is wonderful in Evercare Hospital when it comes to managing emergencies. Are you now talking of the exit routes? All labeled, all illuminated. Zibi, when I start saying these things, I won't stop. But just to tell you that Evercare has it covered.
Okay, can I ask?
Any patient that wants to come, you're free, you'll be safe, and you're in good hands.
All right. Am I allowed to ask about the emergency and evacuation procedures?
Yeah, well, you're allowed to. Why not?
Okay, tell us.
Yes, yeah, why not? You're allowed to say it. Now, because of the kind of business we run, we have to have what we call phase evacuation. Now, what do I mean by this phase of evacuation? Now, we have to prioritize this evacuation. We have what we deal with patients. People, some could be on life support, some could be, a lot of them, some cannot, maybe they don't work properly. So we have to phase it. We do a horizontal and vertical kind of evacuation by firstly considering the ambulatory patients. Now, these are people that can walk, like myself, the nurses, the patients that are just outpatients that can walk in. All we need to do is just direct them through the exit route. And these exit routes are just illuminated all around the building with signs. So I don't even need to say more on that. Now, you also have the semi-ambulatory movements of patients, having to evacuate. We have what we call the non-ambulatory. So that's why we have to phase it. So, to establish and have a proper evacuation, yes.
All right.
Phase evacuation, yes.
Okay. We're almost out of time, but I have a few more questions. I want to know, what are the most important things that you believe everyone should know about a fire, whether it's a hospital or a home or a work environment? Yeah.
The very first thing is, I don't want people to get scared. But the truth is, they should know that fire is very dangerous. And that's why we need to always pay attention to our environment. Yeah, when you pay proper attention to environment, get things out of the way, put things in the right places, it will help you achieve a free and safe environment for your organization, for your business to thrive. Yeah, understand that fire can happen at any time. Put the right things in the right places, get maintenance people that will always look at your electrical and any other thing you need to have in place. So, don't leave anything to chance. Everything should be taken very seriously. That is the most important thing.
Okay, let's take a quick phone call. All right, you can give us a ring back if your call comes in the next 20 seconds or so. So how does Evercare Hospital manage these sort of emergencies?
Right, yes. I'll go back to say, due to our peculiarity and the kind of business we run, apart from fire, we have other types of emergencies. So we have to put them in codes, because I might start, maybe the alarm might start shouting, fire, fire, fire. You have to evacuate the building. And you have someone that is in the building, a patient that his or her blood pressure is very high before the person is dead. So instead of having to have such, how we manage our emergencies are we assign codes to the various things. Like if there is fire emergency in Evercare now, we activate what we call the code red in the building. Everybody is aware that, okay, we need to evacuate this building by, once I know, all I need to do is I'll have to bring out my patient, tell them, please, kindly, we need to leave now. Try to manage them. And also, you have what we call a medical emergency. We call it code blue. So we have to code everything just because of our kind of business.
Okay. Finally, how can listeners contact you at Evercare Hospital?
Right, we are located at number 1 Admiralty Way, Bisola Duro Simieti Drive, Lekki Peninsula Scheme 1, Lekki, Lagos. And our website is www.evercare.ng. And you can reach us also on 081 3985 0710. Or you can send us an email to info@evercare.ng.
All right, many thanks for joining us, Odunze Raphael, the Health and Safety Coordinator from Evercare Hospital, Lekki. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
And that's it for Smooth Health on the Drive. I'm Zibi. Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on Smooth 98.1.
Smooth Health on the Drive.
It's a global observation that helps raise people's awareness.
Every Thursday at 5:15 p.m.
If you didn't know, now you know.
Powered by Evercare Hospital, Lekki. Transforming healthcare in Nigeria.